Were you at all turned on during this at all,
No.
even a little bit?
No.
Physically, you weren't at all responsive to his advances?
I didn't report it for, 1,000 reasons, a million reasons.
Now, how much of a fight how much did you resist him taking off your clothes?
I was still in physical pain from this and sitting there going, oh, well, no one's gonna believe.
And I think I need you to be a little more honest with me about some
I
of this.
am being honest.
I knew that I had no proof.
So you just went along with it?
I could hear people's judgment saying, well, why did you do that? It was your fault.
When a guy tries to have sex with a female and the female is completely unwilling, it's very difficult.
I wasn't the perfect victim.
It hurt a lot at the beginning? Okay, and how does that compare to experiences you've had in the past sexually?
Everyone was just gonna go, this girl just, slept with this guy and changed her mind.
While this woman was being attacked, there were passengers on the train. They did apparently witness what was going on and apparently did nothing about it.
Several people watching, some within arm's length, says Upper Darby Superintendent of Police, whose officers are investigating the rape of a female passenger.
Women who live with this, who are survivors of it, or who deal with it in any way, they are the courageous ones. That's the courage, is to move forward and to keep going. That's the courageous warrior in all of us.
Medusa was once the most beautiful woman in Athens, but the gods were jealous and cursed her. Even after she was killed, the power and the beauty in her eyes remained. That's what Medusa represents to me, a refusal to be defeated. Is a Medusa in me? I feel I am the Medusa.
When we think of Medusa, we think of this creepy, ugly, just terrific looking thing that has snakes coming out of her head instead of hair, and this creature that can turn man into stone as a punishment for simply looking at them. We think of Perseues as the hero of the story, the hero that finally defeated the monster after so many men before him have tried and failed. But if you take a deeper look at the history of Medusa and who she was before she even became a monster, you quickly start to wonder who is the real monster of the story and who is the actual hero, or are there any heroes at all, or are they just all monsters at the end? I've been looking at Medusa's story for days and days now, and I've been doing so much research, and of course this is just a myth, but the similarities between that 1,000-year-old myth to the problems that women face in today's society is actually really scary. Medusa's story is just showing her as a victim of injustice and lust, and that's really all. And Medusa's story has definitely evolved over time. There are different storylines out there that don't only talk about the events that happened during this time, but they also touch base on her appearance, which seems to have changed a lot over the past years. But besides all of that, in today's video I'm focusing on the most popular version of the Medusa tale. But before I jump into the video, if this is the type of content you enjoy, then please make sure to subscribe to my video and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss out on any of my other uploads. And I would love for you guys to start a conversation in the comment section as well. Please let me know what you think. But yeah, let's jump right into it. In Greek mythology, Medusa is probably one of the most famous of the monsters. And like with most old stories, the tale of Medusa has shifted over time along with her looks. Some say she was a beautiful human woman with golden hair and a kind nature, whereas some others say that she was born as one of the 3 Gorgon sisters. But unlike the rest of her family, she was the only mortal one and the only one who had a stunning face. But regardless of her status at birth, Medusa devoted herself to a life of celibacy in the name of the goddess Athena, the virgin goddess of wisdom and battle. One day, Poseidon, or also known as Neptune, the god of the sea and rival to Athena, saw Medusa and was mesmerized by her beauty. But of course, Medusa, being a loyal priestess to the goddess, rejected him. Now, rejection is never easy to deal with, especially when you're an egomaniac god. Sometime after he had been rejected, he creeped up on Medusa while she was asleep and raped her on the steps of Athena's temple. The ultimate disrespect to Athena, and of course punishment to Medusa, because how dare she reject him, right? And if this wasn't enough, the priestess became pregnant from the assault. Probably not the first time you heard a story like this, minus the gods and supernatural powers, obviously. When Athena discovers that Poseidon had raped Medusa, she chooses to blame her rather than him. So instead of punishing him, she cursed Medusa for betraying her. Medusa was sent to a faraway island to live an isolated life, and she was made so that no man would want her or could even look at her. She was given cracked skin, madness, her signature snake hair, and eyes that would turn any man that looked at her into stone. It is at this point that Medusa's head became a desired trophy for many warriors because of its powers, obviously. Many men would go and try to kill her, but they all failed miserably until Perseues, who ultimately beheaded her with the help of other gods, because of course men have to stick together to fight a woman. He then keeps her head for a while and uses it as a weapon until he eventually gives Medusa's head to the goddess Athena, the woman who cursed her in the first place. Now, some argue that Athena didn't actually curse Medusa, but she blessed her with the power to protect herself from the brutality of men. As the story goes, Athena ultimately used Medusa's head as a protective amulet on her shield to protect herself from evil. And by doing this, some people believe that Athena paid tribute to Medusa's undeniable powers and that she wanted to represent a final united female front. But in my opinion, if Athena really wanted to represent a final united female front, then there would have been many other ways of doing so. First of all, there was no need to turn her into a monster. If you really wanted to make her stronger, and if Athena really wanted her to be able to protect herself, then she could have just given her powers without turning her into, that weirdly looking creature that no man can even look at, because now this woman also will never be able to find love. I mean, obviously she, swore to celibacy, which obviously is not the case anymore. So why are you taking even that option from her? And on top of all of that, she got shunted to a different island where she lived in total isolation just to be haunted by men. And now let's say that wasn't her motive and she never wanted to give her powers and she simply wanted to punish her. To me, it doesn't really matter which version of the story is true or not, because all I'm wondering is, how can Athena be the goddess of wisdom if this is her way of dealing with the situation? But anyway, let's talk about her looks. The earliest portrayals of Medusa after she's been cursed show part human and part animal. She almost looked comical. She was painted on pottery and sometimes carved into funerary monuments as a terrible looking creature with bulging eyes, a full beard, and a lolling tongue between her fanged teeth. Not to forget a head full of snakes in place of hair. By the 5th century though, the hideous figure started to morph into what she looks like to us today. Her features were increasingly feminized to the point where she became an alluring seductress instead of a monster figure. She now has stunning hair with a few snakes peeking through here and there. She has piercing, sexy eyes, yet kinda petrifying, I'd say. Her skin is smooth, of course no pimples or pores. She has nicely shaped and plump lips, and basically you get the picture, right? We basically sexualized Medusa to the point where she turned into something completely new. Almost like when society is trying to tell us that Jesus was a white man. Just like with everything else, we need to take it and turn it into a version we are more comfortable with, because we can't just accept it for what it is. Again, our image of Medusa is the one of a monster, but after I told you her story, do you really see her as that still? or has your view and opinion of her completely changed? Because to me, the situation is crystal clear. To me, Medusa is a rape victim without any support system. It's a story so powerful and relevant today. It's a scary truth to be told. First she was abused, and then she was unjustifiably blamed for the consequences of mailers. Because what? She was born stunning? Because she was provoking a god with her beauty and her natural look? And of course, the man got away with it, and the victim blaming has reached the next level as she's been punished for the actions of her abuser. Athena, who's supposedly the goddess of wisdom, punished her by turning her into a hideous monster. The woman had enough power to help her, but instead she chose to take the side of the abuser. Just like today's justice system, who lets the real monsters get away with their crimes because the victim was wearing a short skirt or is known to, have a drink or two on the weekend, as if women are responsible not just for their own actions, but also for the actions of the people around us. Can we ever win in this scenario? Please tell me, because I have questions right now. In reality, the real monsters are rapists like Poseidon, abusers like Perseues, and victim blamers like Athena. But most of all, it's the people who actively choose to not look further into a victim's story. This is the primary reason why victims of abuse don't speak up. They're afraid that people will judge them and blame them. It's safe to say that Medusa is an ancient representation of sexual stigma that still happens today. Medusa's story has questionable morals, but it is not the first time that the image of a monstrous woman is used to belittle, shame, and discourage powerful women, teaching them to remember their place. She is a symbol of what female power looks like in the face of threatened male authority. Medusa represents a conflicting view of femininity, both beautiful and fearsome, which represents the danger of female sex appeal. She was a woman who could lure men to their deaths if they dared to look at her, and yet they still did. There's a painful recognition in the fact that Medusa's head, the center of her knowledge and power, is taken from her in order to empower a man and to fight his battles for him. Because if you do remember, her killer did use her head to fight his enemies. Now, how does Medusa translate into today's woman? Medusa represents a woman that is punished for the wrongdoings of somebody else and then attacked for her methods in taking back her power. She is a representation of the struggles that many modern women face today. If you look at women in powerful positions, then you'll probably find that many of them have fallen victim to the Medusa analogy. For example, if you Google Hillary Clinton, then it is very likely that you find a Photoshop picture where her head is chopped off and put on a Medusa statue. But obviously that's not enough, because then you see Trump posing as Perseues and holding her head in his hands, basically showing the power that he holds over her. And Hillary Clinton is not the only one. You have, for example, Angela Merkel, who also fell victim to the Medusa analogy. And again, there is not only two. If you really look into this and if you really Google this, you'll find many other women as well. Women that are in extremely powerful positions. To summarize this, if you react with rage, anger, and passion, you only fuel the Medusa narrative that women are out of control, dangerous, and must be defeated. But if you don't react enough, you are labeled as a heartless and cold bitch. But believe me, these analogies are a direct result of male anxiety about maintaining power and control. And now we're slowly coming to the end of the video. And before I do so, I want to tell you about something positive. I want to tell you about the special meaning that Medusa's head holds today with women all over the world. Medusa has never ceased to fascinate and inspire us, and this is exactly why women all over the world have now started to claim Medusa as their own, finally debunking the Medusa complex to demonize female power and authority. Instead, she's proudly representing power, sexuality, and the acknowledgement of our role in today's society and politics. Some of the most famous female names have been associated with the image of Medusa, including Rihanna and Oprah and many, many more. Medusa is also portrayed on the famous Versace logo, and if you didn't know, funny fact, she's also on the flag of Sicily. Some also see her as a protective symbol due to her ability to destroy those against her. So what we really learn from the Medusa story is that we have the power to change the narrative and write our own story. We need to continue to speak up and let nobody tell us that we are either not enough or too much, because we are just perfect as we are. We do not need to shrink ourselves to make other people around us feel more comfortable. And I'm not talking just men, I'm talking anyone around us. If anyone is uncomfortable with your energy because you are too loud, ditch that person. But anyway, this is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it. And I would really appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of my other weekly uploads. And this is it for today. I hope to see you in the next one, and just know I really appreciate you.